Your last fund was like $650 million, right? And I think last year, September, there was a CoinDesk article of you guys planning to raise $500 million for the next fund, right? When you sit with an LP, right? I'm sure now Dragonfly, as you mentioned, everyone knows, etc.
Right.
In its early days, right? Like, what was that process of raising funds from an LP like for you, when no one knew about Dragonfly?
Yeah, early days was very different because in the early days, I mean, especially if you think back like 2018, 2019.
The only reason I'm asking you is, sorry to cut you off, is so that because when a founder is raising in an early stage startup, right? Like, what can he learn from this experience?
Yeah. Well, so in the early days, it was mostly about pitching crypto as opposed to pitching us, right? Because most investors were not investing in crypto at all.
Right.
Think of most institutions, most family offices, they didn't, like you have to sell them on crypto and then you're the gateway to crypto. Now today, in 2025, that is not true at all, right? Almost everybody knows crypto. They maybe have some allocation of, they own some Bitcoin, they own maybe a bit of Coinbase stock or MicroStrategy or something. And so you have to really convince them about you. And I'd say for myself, the number one thing that I have found that I think is a big part of the reason why some of my pitch resonates with LPs is that I exude competence. I understand the space extremely well, right? A lot of people, when they become managers of funds, they start abstracting themselves more and more from the details. And so when they ask, oh, hey, tell me about this company, tell me about this trend, tell me about this thing going on over here. And they speak in high levels, they're just kind of, it's like a CNBC interview or something, and they're just like saying, oh, it's so bullish, crypto's gonna take over the world. It's like, yeah, people have heard that shit. Yeah. They don't need to hear that from you, right? What they want to hear is mastery. What they want to hear is that, wow, this person is so deep, they know so much about everything that they're running. And it's the same thing true when I see a founder. When I talk to a founder, what I want to see is not that you can tell some big compelling story. It's like, there's a lot of bullshit artists that can tell big compelling stories, right? What I want to hear is clarity. What I want to hear is specificity. I want to hear that you know so much about this market you're going after that it would be crazy if you couldn't crack it. That's the kind of, not confidence, but competence that I want to see from a pitch. And I think the same thing is true for LPs talking to a GP.
Right. And my next question was going to be this, like, what are the three things that you look in a founder when you're investing, right? But you've already covered that sort of. Recently you tweeted that Notion documents over decks, right?
Yes.
Yeah. What's your stance on that? Like?
Yeah, I mean, this is something that I've been investing for such a long time now that a lot of startup decks, they all kind of copy each other. They all sort of do this rigmarole of, spend the first 5 slides kind of hyping yourself up and talking about how big crypto is and just, I don't know, this. Like the thing about decks is that they don't really enforce that much clarity. They don't force you to be very specific. They don't force you to put it into complete, clear sentences of like, what are you building? Why are you building it? What's your strategy? A lot of people use these like very confusing diagrams, like, oh yeah, this thing goes here and then this thing, and here's where the customer is and da da da. Yeah. And I have to stare at this and just be like, what is this? What are you saying? Yeah. And so the nice thing about write-ups, and this is a trend that's probably started really since COVID, is when I started seeing this become more common, but now I just see it more and more, mostly from the highest caliber of founders, is that I think these write-ups, as opposed to pitch decks, write-ups just really, they force clarity. They just make it much easier for me to understand what you're doing and to communicate a lot more about how you think. And that's fundamentally what I care about, right? When I hear a pitch, I don't care how well you can read slides and like just regurgitate notes that you prepared earlier. I don't care about that. That's not a useful skill. What I care about is how you think. And the way I'm going to understand how you think is by probing you and getting you to be really clear and specific. And if you just do that up front, then great. We can save that time and I can find out other things about you when we actually go into the pitch. So that's why increasingly I've come to prefer like a Notion write-up than a pitch deck.